Please tell me that's the intro.
Yes, that is the intro because we are recording.
Yes.
Shit.
So
That's
when
fine.
you're checking this out, folks, it's Friday evening, the 3rd of May, that we are recording this. Once again, if you're checking this out, you might have seen our earlier full-on Detroit City Sportscast, but this one, much like a few weeks ago, Detroit City specific. We're going to talk about what's taking place in there and what's upcoming, both the men and the women. We got to have it make City Make Spence. In order to do that, in addition to Adam being over there and Garret over here, got to have the namesake of Make City Make Spence, the man, the myth, the legend, the father of everything heat, Sean Spence. Happy Friday. Welcome back. How are you? Other than the fact you want to buy alcohol after this episode.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm having a delicious lemonade right now. I'm sober as a vicar. Yeah, I'm great. And I think we're at an interesting point in the early season with City. So I'm ready to get into it.
Hell yeah. So let's there's plenty of things upcoming, but before we do that, we need to talk about what's taken place since the last time we had a Make City Make Sense special. So there was 3 matches that have taken place for Danny Dicchio and the lads. So the first one was the U.S. Open Cup 3rd round, April 16th against an old foe in Michigan Stars. That was a 1-0 to City, and definitely Smoke Darkness and Smell 2 Electric Boogaloo. We'll explain that why. Then speaking of smoke, 420 taking on Saturday 420 taking on Oakland Roots. That was a 3-1 to Les Rouges, and shout out to the nerds that lit off smoke at or close to 4:20 p.m. during the match.
I want to say the 420 smoke and having Oakland and Detroit playing each other on 420. Like, I think that if there's like every time 420 is a Saturday, Oakland and Detroit should play each other.
Hell yeah. So USA HQ in St. Pete, if you're listening to this, you know what to do.
Sorry, go ahead. And then we played Pittsburgh.
5-0 Detroit City took on a Pittsburgh team that had won their first game of the season the previous weekend against Phoenix Rising. And apparently they were still mad at us from 6 months earlier when we knocked them out of playoffs, because that game reminded me of last year. 2-0 to the Riverhound City's first loss. So enough diatribbing for me right now. Why don't Sean give us your thoughts on the last 3. If you want to break it down game by game, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about the Open Cup match against the Stars. The Stars obviously played up a little bit to make it and made things difficult in patches and early in the match. But really, it settled into a question of whether City were going to get a goal. I mean, that was, it was, the Stars didn't have any credible attack after about the 20th minute. And it was just a matter of City gradually increasing the pressure and creating lots of half chances and finally cashing in on the last one when, Stevie stepped kind of into midfield and put the ball on a plate for Maxi to finish. Now, and then the Oakland match was really the Ben Morris match, right? He got us off to a quick start with a really nice finish that reminded me of the Sean Lawson second goal against Chattanooga FC the first time we played them. Like, nice. Running out of defender and kind of like unbalancing him, like kind of going inside out, like switching feet on the run, and the defender's kind of trying to kind of decide what to do and failing and like, about to get spun. And in that moment when the defender's really, just kind of like, all right, well, I'm not going either way now. I'm just going to like try to avoid being posterized. That's when you shoot and, roll it into the back post. It was nice. Also got a goal from Victor Becerra. That was nice in that match on a Morris assist. So, we were flying. Um, and then, when we went to Pittsburgh, it's true that they were, still angry about last year. I think that Bob Lilly, you know, leaned on that like emotionally through that. Look at what they took from you. You were the best team in the league last year, and you didn't even get to leave your own home. Like, ha ha ha, what the fuck? He spent the whole week like get geeked up about it, and they were a half step quicker to everything all match. We lost. City lost 2-0 and were comprehensively beaten.
Yeah.
And really, it could have been worse. Despite all that, Stevie played really well, and then got a second yellow, or I guess he actually got a straight red.
Yeah, it was a straight red.
Yeah. So he was on. He'd just gotten a yellow for dissent like 2 minutes earlier. And then on the last kick of the game, essentially just sort of slid in on a guy and was called for a pretty soft dog-so red. And yeah, so he's out for this week. I mean, I think that we're at the point in the season where the team's depth needs to show up, and that was made even clearer by the Nolan Bianchi article this week.
Right.
Revealed not only will Stevie be out for this match, but that Elvis Amo, who was so central to the kind of ability to play at a quick tempo and through the attack, is going to be at home for 2 months before he even comes back and gets evaluated as to like the groin problem is so bad. He had torn part of his hip adductor off of the bone, and so he's like on ice for 2 months, and then we evaluate and see where he's coming back. So really, best case scenario, you're looking at like maybe mid-August.
Yeah.
So and potentially just a lost season for him.
Yeah.
Which at like 32 is pretty rough.
Injuries last year plagued him too, because he was, I think that affected his rhythm in Hartford. So unfortunately, this is something he's got to go through again.
Yeah, it's tough, and I'm sure he is really struggling with it mentally. Just because you like knowing that you're gonna it's taking you all this time to get up to tempo and get up to pace and be ready to really hit the ground running this season. And then to have this sort of disastrously bad groin injury that's really it's just bad luck and fate, because the dude is not does not slack on like preparation or any of that stuff. So yeah, it's tough, and this will be a big week for the Rouge for this edition to find out what they're about. Like it's been a really great start, and then we stumbled against Pittsburgh, and the upcoming matches are are going to be a challenge. And we'll see what we have going forward.
Right. Adam, did you have anything you wanted to ask based off of these last three that we had?
Just a couple of quick comments. Harkening back to the Michigan Stars match, I tend to agree with you, Sean. It seemed like that City just completely ended up wearing down the Michigan Stars in that match. Just the only evidence you need to see in that is Stevie just basically stepping in front of what looked to be a completely gassed Justin Merrim to take the ball midfield, and then, like you said, serve it on a platter to Maxey, who ended up putting it in the back of the net.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool to see that. The only thing that I was worried about was one of those stupid breaks, stupid bounces that goes against you, and ends up costing you the game. I also don't want none of McRuva in a penalty situation too.
That was his
Yeah.
best game.
No,
that was his best game against us yet, and we played him a numerous amount of times.
Yeah, he was pretty incredible. I mean, I didn't really talk about the Stars because I didn't want to spend a lot of time on that match, and frankly, I just don't like giving them any freaking oxygen. But since
we've already saw all their playing cards that apparently.
But McRuva, we talked about how talented he was, and he showed it. He was great against us, and the goal was nothing he could have really prevented. Maxi ran on the ball and hit it first time and bent it around McRuva, who was diving the right way, but
and I guess when it.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I felt the same way about the pot. I didn't want to go into extra time and burn the legs. Knowing how long the season is, and you don't want to have to play 30 more minutes against these chodes. And also I didn't want any piece of McRuva in a shootout, because it would be first of all a shithouse showpiece. He would do incredibly weird shit, and
lower league version of Emi Martinez.
But he's also explosive off the ground and really and reads the ball well and could really could save well struck penalties. So but we didn't have to worry about it. Stevie, the other thing that I thought was really pleasing was I have always enjoyed Justin Merrim. Since he came into MLS, I was writing about MLS when he came into the league, and he was he's a very specific kind of player, right? He's a creative guy, a guy who can work a little magic or see things a little early, and his presence in their lineup did worry me, but it felt like Stevie had one of those, and I took that personally, moments, because he really, every time there was a moment where it was a contest between Justin and Stevie for the ball, it went only one way, and emphatically one way. Stevie was no, just shutting him down at every moment when he had a chance, and it was really great to see. And you could see it kind of wearing on him, the fact that he's not playing with guys that the quality around him is not the same as the quality opposing him, and I really always liked the guy, but if he's going to go out wearing the Michigan Stars badge, then I hope we fucking retired you, dude. Have a good retirement at Keyworth, eat shit along with Josh Gatt. Join the list of people who got retired at Keyworth, who have caps internationally.
Fun thing about that was apparently Merrim was at Disneyland with his family before the match.
Hey, Garret.
It's funny he got to.
Garret.
Yeah. Yep.
You keep on fading out again.
Is this better? Yo. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Being heard is important on a podcast.
Yeah. I completely agree on that. But no, I was going to say, provided I could be heard on here, Justin Merrim experienced Disney with his family before Michigan before the Open Cup match, and then he got to experience again when Stevie put him on ice. So,
it was like Frozen 3.
Time to let it go now. Time to let it go. Also, great goalkeeping, Paul Blanchett, because it was 3-1 in the game against Oakland, and it could have been a lot worse. Great.
I had another one for Sean, though, that I want.
Go for it.
Maybe this is this is a segue to next topic, but Sean, our depth was on full display against Oakland. It seemed like we had, especially up top, we had Victor, and then we had Ben going that entire game. And then, like you said, it was the Ben Moore show. Ben looked really, really good. It looked like, especially to that brief chemistry that we saw between Ben and Victor on Victor's goal looked really,
Right.
really sharp. It looked like a mid-season type of goal. And then in Pittsburgh, they fall flat on their face. And,
Yeah.
like you said, it would, they're lucky that it was just 2-0 and not something bigger. What's your take? What's your take when it comes to a game against Oakland where we saw the good things coming out of potentially that depth, and then
Right.
Pittsburgh where it wasn't there,
Um,
and potentially
well, the
leading
difference,
into tomorrow night.
yeah, I've thought about this quite a bit, like Yazid and Victor and which strikers in a roll out and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's just difficult to say at this point. It's going to be down more to what they are seeing in practice than anything we've seen in a match, because the difference in Pittsburgh to me is that we lost a midfield battle, and so we weren't reliably creating good chances or good situations for the strikers, really. And Victor, did struggle as alone, like with getting isolated and playing alone, in a way that you like. I think that in a lot of people's minds, we've been thinking of Victor as like a young guy, and he is a relatively young guy, but he's 24. He's the same age as Ben Morris. He's not like a 19-year-old. The 19-year-old is Alex Villanueva, and that's an example of a kid who has taken his opportunities at every turn. So I think that he's potentially Alex on the left is potentially a solution, partially for some of the attacking problems, some of the creative problems. But the city needs to control the ball more and just like be better. Like it sounds stupid, but like it really is, just be a little sharper on the ball, clean up the passing to the level that we'd seen in the previous 6 matches, win some 50-50s. Don't it really just looked to me like we came out a little discouraged against Pittsburgh, I think, in a way that that we never quite recovered from. So we'll like this is going to kind of, this next week or so is going to determine what the season really looks like for City, whether they're consistently at the top of the table, or whether they're going to slide down and be in that second group that's kind of afraid to fall out of the playoffs.
So do you think that this was more of a skill issue, or do you think it was more of a mental issue then?
I think it was like, no, I think it's more mental. I think that I don't think we were like psyched out. I think they just came at us hard, and our vibe wasn't great to begin with. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like we were kind of a little off, and Ali struggled to create anything. Victor was pretty disconnected, like I said. Maxi wound up having to kind of drop back and shore things up defensively because we weren't winning the ball. And the whole structure starts to kind of like come apart when that double pivot isn't, dominating the 50-50 challenges, and Lyon, James have been great and probably will be great again. They were not great against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I thought that from what I was seeing on that was Pittsburgh seemed to be, they were on the move, especially when they didn't have the ball. And I felt static off the ball and like flat. Once Pittsburgh started really increasing the pressure and taking the space away, we couldn't connect more than a couple passes at a time. And maybe that's their shape. Maybe that's Pittsburgh's shape that really did us in.
Yeah, well, they played that like a 5-4-1, which sounds super negative, but it wasn't that negative. Because because really it was really kind of a 3-6-1, but the basically they had 4 midfielders kind of pinched into about 2/3 of the width of the field, and it created a lot of compression in our preferred attacking zones, like where we like to try to play through that channel with Ali on our left, and there were like 3 midfielders there.
Yeah.
And when anytime our left back would try to get involved, that would bring in even more. They pretty soon, they just outnumbered us in the key areas.
Yeah. And you were saying that 3-6-1, when they have the ball and attack in a high spot, that can even become like a 3-4-3, because those 2 midfielders then can bunch up by their striker and then really cause hell on whoever's defending.
Well, the other thing they do is they don't always release the same people. They've got some sort of check down system happening where, like, when the ball turns over, sometimes, like, it's usually the 2 weak side people just blow out and try to create, and that was pretty effective. Especially since we tend to just keep the 2 guys back. So, I mean, there were tactical things happening that we were, swapping and changing to try to defend. I'm a little surprised we didn't see Michael kind of more as a third center back, kind of the way we expected him to play before the season. If he was when he was going to play right back, okay, well, they're probably going to play kind of shift into a 3 and have an attacking left back. And that seemed like a change that was suggested by the shapes, but I think at that point we were already behind, and so you're always hesitant to shift a player out of the midfield zone when you're struggling to control the midfield zone. So it just at some level it's down to in gridiron football, it's down to blocking and tackling or whatever. It's the basics that we got beat on.
So now we go into what's ahead. We got 3 matches. The first one starting tomorrow night. Leesburg, Virginia, Loudoun United. Stephen Carroll's out for this one due to the straight red card in the last game. Thankfully, It sounds like it's only a 1 game, maybe because it was denial of goal scoring opportunity as opposed to violent conduct.
Maybe they just actually watched the challenge and gone, come on, bro.
Yeah. Brent Levi's was out last week against Pittsburgh, and I believe he was, as Danny Dichio mentioned in that article you referenced from Nolan Bianchi of the Detroit News, Levi's was in a boot in that match in Pittsburgh, a walking boot. He's not in the walking boot anymore. I don't know if he's going to be playing tomorrow. We do know is he's out for the Open Cup match on Tuesday in Houston Dynamo due to getting sent off double yellow in the Michigan Stars match in the 97th minute.
Right. We got a gift for getting sent off in the last 8 seconds of the match.
We used remember when we used to struggle to get cards, let alone sending off? It seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And then to round out the 3 in a week, the defending USL champions come to Keyworth for a CBS Sports Network tilt 5 p.m. at Keyworth on Saturday, May 11th in Phoenix Rising. So, Sean, I want to get your thoughts on these 3, and also with a question that I'm thinking of here in terms of roster and in terms of Carlos Saldana in goal. If there's a game that we could see Carlos in, because I could see Danny rolling with Carlos or Nate in Houston, do you think it's more likely we see Carlos tomorrow in Loudoun or more likely in Houston against the Dynamo?
I think we're likely to see Carlos stay the cup keeper just because that doesn't muddy the waters about what's happening in the league. And I don't think Carlos's play is warranted destabilizing Nate in any way.
Right.
He made some decision mistakes that could have cost us early against the Stars. And then, settled down. But settled down because his whole job was jogging out to stroke the ball forward 10 yards to Steve. So, you could have done that.
That's the best description of the responsibilities yet I've heard. Well done.
So, I think that Loudoun, obviously, so the next 3 matches are, the a team we've already beaten, and then the U.S. Cup holders, the Open Cup holder. Houston won last year, and the USL Championship Cup holders in Phoenix Rising. So obviously the competition's, at some level you would expect pretty stiff. I think that the thing is, the matches themselves, I don't think are as difficult as the billing. Like, it's the kind of thing where we could get some decisions there and like trumpet it, like, yeah, we beat the U.S. Open Cup holders or whatever. But Houston's, they're having a middling start to the season. They, Ben Olsen is their manager, and he's somebody that is familiar to people in the U.S. because he had 37 caps and like 6 goals for the U.S. and he's spent a decade as a manager at DC United.
Didn't Juan Guerra go there from Rising?
I think he did.
Yes. Okay. And like they've got a pile of talent. Their starting goalkeeper is Steve Clark from Michigan. Although he's 38 now, but I mean he's still great. They've got a lot of talent. But I mean, and Olsen is a very like minimalist manager, right? He's good at like handling personalities, but he's not gonna come up with like a wrinkle that bugs you. He's gonna just put out players and go, let's play great, guys. He's a good manager. And Houston's setup is kind of simple in some ways. Like it's a mid-block 4-2-3-1. They don't try to do too much. They're not, they press a bit, but they're kind of like they don't have a lot of tendencies. What they do have is talent. Like they have a lot of talent. The best player is probably Amine Bassi, who's like a Moroccan, number 10. Starts in the middle of that attacking band, but really likes to kind of play from the left channel inward. Just really good, great vision, good first touch, combines incredibly well. Like just, one of those guys, every time he gets a touch in that pocket on the left side, you're kind of shitting yourself. Like, he's now what Justin Miram was in his prime, like very similar players.
Okay.
Like inside lefts who are right-footed and create lots. So I mean, but Houston, they're 4-1-4. They're 9th in the West in MLS. The fact is, really looking at their wins, they've beaten like the Chicago Fire and Minnesota United and like San Jose, teams that are having like epically terrible seasons. So they've kind of like their points in league play have come against like sheep that they're just shearing. I will have to see what kind of mood we're in when we show up there, because Loudoun is the team that could cause us problems. They caused us some problems at home. We just we did up the tempo and kind of like play them off the park in the second half. But we're going to be playing without Stevie, so I assume that it's going to be Devin partnering Michael, and then Matt coming into the right back.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I would be surprised to see very much rotation from Danny. I think that, when you're playing the holders at their place, and you're going to fly into what's doubtless going to be just an epically swampy atmosphere that's going to just suck the life out of you, he's not going to. Like, I think we'll probably see the rotation happen in the Open Cup match.
Yeah. Loudoun, should provide a note. Loudoun came into playing us in the third match. They were one win and a draw. Since our 2-1 win over Loudoun on March 23rd, Loudoun have had a 3-1 loss in Birmingham to the Legion, a 2-1 win at home over Memphis, a 0-0 against Rich in the Open Cup, but winning on penalties against the Richmond Kickers, who some of us have joked is another version of DCFC2 with how many former City players they have this year. Taking on Louisville City, losing 1-0 at home, which is actually not a bad result considering some of the hidings. Considering some of the hidings Louisville's put on teams this year, and then 3-1 loss last weekend in Sacramento against the Republic. So
like Louisville and Sacramento are the two of the best 4 teams in the league.
Right.
And only losing 1-0 to Louisville to me says that, like, given the fact that the attack felt very 2023 to me during the last match against Pittsburgh. I was having like panic attacks and flashbacks.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're not creating any shots at all. Like, no shots at all. And if they were able to hold Louisville down, I haven't looked at I'm realizing now, like, I don't think I looked at the stats for that match. So it could be one of those where Louisville had 27 shots and
so
9 on goal. And
I got it up right now. Possession was Louisville 54-46, 11 shots to 9. Passes 394 completed by Louisville. The Loudoun's 320. Loudoun had 4 shots on target to Louisville's 2.
Yeah, and like an even match that was won by the team with slightly better talent.
Right.
But like, and that's what we should expect probably tomorrow.
Right.
Because it's going to be tough, and then against Houston, like, there's not many teams that you would think would overlook us, in the Open Cup at this point. Like, since we beat the Crew, they kind of know what we're about. They've seen the whatever, but it's possible that Ben Olsen and the Houston Dynamo are a group that might, because I'm doubting they don't see a lot of us down in Houston. I lived down there for 5 years, and Michigan is like, the Antarctica to people in Houston. They just don't pay attention to us. It's very much more like the soccer focus, and Houston is naturally south. I'm sure that it's weird for them to have to travel north for every match. They're glad to finally have some Texas teams. But
it's not like United coming to Keyworth last year.
Yeah. Right. Like, United knew what we were about, and like, we have, they have a lower league, kind of vibrant presence there with United, and
Minnesota United, to be exact, for those that are wondering.
Right. Yeah. Right. And like, I think that Houston is a team that really illustrates all of the problems with MLS. They have very little organic following in the city. They've managed they managed to kind of come across as sort of colonizer football when they were introduced. I mean, it was like they stole a team from, it was San Jose, right? They
San Jose and Houston merged, and Dynamo kept all of Earthquake stuff, if I remember right.
Well, yeah, the team moved.
That's what it was.
The Earthquake moved to Houston, and like won cup their first year in Houston. So that's Houston's
they won twice, I think.
Well, but I think the earlier one was San Jose.
Oh shit.
And MLS was kind of like, when the new San Jose team came around, like their initial reaction to the San Jose fans saying, "Look, restore our records, like, make this." MLS initially told them to pound sand. They're like, "No, fuck you. That went to Houston. Eat shit. You should have bought millions more tickets, you jerks. You should have voted for a stadium." And so,
it was Houston over New England, 06 and 07.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. So they won. It was the Dom Kinnear years.
Yeah.
He moved
football.
with them.
Ugly football.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Rico Clark, I think.
Yeah, because that Rev team had like 12 men, and they were the better attacking team. But Houston, I think they had Brian Chang too. Brian Chang on the left wing.
No, he was more of like a target man.
Ah, that's what it was.
Or no, Brian Chang. No, you were on the left wing. Who's the striker? Like,
let's see here.
Target man. I can picture him. Like, I know what he looks.
They had Dwayne De Rosario as well.
Well, D-Row, yeah, but that wasn't who I'm talking about.
Nate
this is
Joppa,
like a back to goal string.
Nate Jacques, Joseph Anguilla. They had Ricardo Clark before he went to Germany.
Oh, I bet they. I think I'm thinking of. See, this is what happens when you get old. It's like you start blurring all these years together. I think the guy I'm thinking of was more like 2012. So anyway,
Okay. Yeah.
Let's move on. This is a trip through
What about
the depths
Phoenix?
of my memory. Phoenix, I'm curious to see. You know, they are the holders, but they lost a lot of talent. They're under 500. Yeah. So I don't really know what to say. Like I think it'll be a lot clearer what we're getting into with Phoenix prior to us, you know, getting into it with them, because you know they are going to play. Well, they got North Carolina FC, and they've got Sacramento in the Open Cup.
They got Sacramento in league, then they got to go to North Carolina for Open Cup.
Did I get it backwards? Okay. Yeah. Well. Okay. Yeah. They got North Carolina and Sacramento. That'll give us a little better idea where they are. But I really feel like at home, that's a match that we should be, you know, controlling and winning. I don't think their midfield can cope with ours if we play well.
That's a tough travel schedule too.
Yeah.
Going to North Carolina and then to Detroit.
Yeah.
And then back. Yeah. That's tough. That's really tough.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like RTI, like they smacked the shit out of us 5-0 last year, but Danny Trejo went to Poland for Korona Kielce. And then Arteaga went to Tampa. So they got a handful of people that they've basically brought in. And when they play the one game, I've seen 2 games by them this year. The game at Monterey Bay, which was the first game I saw in Galazzo earlier in the year, where they looked well, but they were lacking something in the final third.
Yeah,
and then the game
they didn't
lost
score goals early in the season.
Right. And when they played Pittsburgh, when that game which Riverhounds won in Phoenix 3-1, Phoenix created a lot of chances, but their defense was sloppy. So I want to see how Phoenix does at home against Sacramento tomorrow night, especially with like how Sacramento is rolling with Cicerone and Trevor Amon, how much difficulty. I think there's a lot. Danny's going to probably scout that and see what his old team's going to be doing, because maybe that gives him ideas for Saturday. How do you feel about those what those 3 will go result-wise if you were a guessing man right now?
Yeah, like I would just want to caution everyone not to adjust your betting.
No, it's going to be better. It's
I have
to
to
be better
say.
than Tunnel Talk for anyone that checked our thoughts out on Pittsburgh. Sorry for all those that lost money.
I mean, okay, so if I'm guessing, I think we're going to draw on the road against Loudoun. I think we're going to beat Houston Dynamo in the Open Cup, and I think we're going to beat Phoenix. Coming off the bounce from the Open
I'll
Cup.
Take it. I'll take
that. You got any scores, or are you just doing the results?
I mean, you know, I think it's a scoring draw against Loudoun. I think with Stevie back in the Open Cup and them kind of like, I could imagine us kind of rolling out and getting an early goal. We've done well at getting early goals, and them just sort of going, you know, fuck this. We don't really care about the Open Cup, you know. like just sort of going, well, you know, if you guys don't fall on your ass, you're probably going to win now that you're leading. You know, that seems like a way that Ben Olsen might approach it, although clearly he is good at getting them to play in knockout. Like, he's good at knockout football.
Right.
I just think they're likely to maybe take us a bit for granted, since they're not really, you know, rocking in the league. So I don't know, we'll see. And then Phoenix, you know, I've seen the same thing you've seen. That Pittsburgh match was like, ooh, you know, they looked exploitable, and I hope we exploit them. Now, you know, I understand that my, you know, prognostication is heavily weighted by my need to feel some modicum of hope in the world. So, adjust your expectations as necessary.
One quick thing, Sean, real quick, because I know we got to get to the women's side of the club here.
Yeah, we do.
Do we go with Yazid against Houston and just go straight chaos?
Oh,
Yeah, I think so. I think
just
so,
muck
probably.
it straight up, muck it up.
Well, and like he's a guy who has shown that he does like he's when he's in decent form, like he's not afraid of anybody. You know, he scored against Atlas all those years ago.
Hell of a strike
He's
too.
yeah, and like you know, he also I want to say that like I don't know if it's if he's getting coached up or if it's a personal thing that he's like tasked himself to get better with, but his transitional play as a target forward has looked a little better than I honestly thought he had in him. Like he's looked a little cleaner with the ball. Like his movements have been less pure chaos and more like these are the weak points we're trying to exploit. And like, yeah, I've been pleasantly surprised with what I've seen from him. Now, having said that, he's not a clinical finisher, so he's probably not a solution as a starter long term. But like, he's looked pretty good, so I'm really pleased that a longtime guy is still able to get it done.
Adam, while you mentioned that question, what are you thinking of the 3 matches?
Oh, come on.
No, everyone's got to do it.
I'm gonna go with a tight win against Loudoun. I'm gonna go with a shootout loss against the Dynamo, and then I'll go win against Rising.
You got a score on any of those?
1-0 against Loudoun. 2-2 against Dynamo, and 2-1 against Phoenix.
So, first 2 times we've played in Virginia at Loudoun, 4-0 in 2022, 3-0 last year. It's not going to be that much because Loudoun are a much better side. I'm going to go.
Well, they're a big boy side now. They're not like a bunch of children.
Yeah. I'm going to go. I'm with Adam. I'm going 1-0 because I think, it could be. It's a 1-goal thing. I feel more 1-0 than 2-1 there. Dynamo have scored 9 goals in 9 games in league play. They play St. Louis City tomorrow night. I don't know if we can keep them off the board, but I think I'm going 2-1. I think 2-1 us. I think it's I think Danny's up. I think Danny wants it, and we have seen this coach angry after we win. Now we're going to be experiencing how he's going to be after we lose. Rising. That 5-0 sticks to me on there, especially because it was on my mom's birthday. Yeah, well, thankfully the game ended on the 17th, not on the 16th. But 2-0 us, because I don't know. I'm going to put that on Rising being spent, and I think a lot of their energy will be more on their game against Sacramento tomorrow. And then North Carolina is going to make it difficult against them in Open Cup because North Carolina, as we've talked about before, they can be harbingers of chaos as well. So, and plus it's a TV game. I think the crowd's going to be up for it as well. I think it's going to be exciting times. Speaking of exciting times, time to talk about the women.
Yes.
So our women are getting ready after the great thing that was the PASL and concluding April's last month. It's worth it to say in Cincinnati. It's now W League time. Next weekend, time's flown by fast. May 11th, W League starts in Flint City, with then Flint coming to Keyworth on the 18th for the home opener. Sean, why don't you kind of fill us in on what your take of this squad? I know City's announced 18 people already, more announcements to come, but it's that time again. And how are we feeling about this side this year?
Okay, well, to kind of set the table a little bit. City. This is the 5th year of City's women's program. It began the year of the pandemic, which was unfortunate timing.
Right.
And that has kind of, I think, sort of like remained a sort of cloud over the progress of the program. You know, City has put out intermittently impressive rosters and had passages of play that look nice, but really they've been a middle table team their entire existence. I think this is the year that changes. So if you want to get on board a hype train that has, you know, is just sort of forming up at the station, like this city's women's side is, I think, a suitable place to get on board. You know, they start with 2 matches against Flint, and Flint are the team that dominated the conference last year. City played them 3 times and had 2 very close matches with them. I think 2 draws, and then got crushed by them in the final.
Yeah,
at
that
the
was
end of the
painful.
season, when they were, you know, kind of flying and rolling toward the playoff spot. They lost to the eventual champions, I believe, in the playoffs.
Indy, right?
Yeah, Flint lost to Indy. It was very close, and then Indy kind of blowtorched everyone else. I really think that Flint team last year was one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the USLW, like really, really good. Lots of talent. They lost quite a bit of talent. Their best striker is kind of not committed anywhere right now. Their Gaetino, their fantastic midfielder, is committed to University of North Carolina, and so it's hard to say how much she's going to be available. So I mean, I think we got a chance to do something against them because this is an incredibly talented roster. Dave Dwahey is the manager again. This is his 2nd year. He's you know, familiar to City fans as one of the owners. He is, you know, one of the original guys. He's the one who's not a business guy. He's the one who's a soccer guy. And
Dude can ball.
I think, yeah, he can really ball. But he's also a good manager. Like Dave has a uniquely gentle spirit and is a really fantastic nurturer of people around him. And you know, I think that what he's doing in this role is I think trying to kind of like build something that he can hand off seamlessly. And I think that, you know, it's hard to overlook somebody like Danny Evans, who is the coach of the PASL team, as a likely, you know, recipient of this, the egg of the City Women's Program in the near future. This year, I think, I'm not going to tell you how many players Dave has on the roster thing, but it's a lot. It's many multiples of an 11. It's multiples
So more than the
of an
18 that we've
18.
got.
Yeah.
Right. I think they've announced 19. That's less than half. So we've you know, the City idea has started to kind of resonate in women's football, which is fantastic because it hasn't been the case previously. And we were so out recruited by the Michigan Hawks / Flint AFC, because that's the Hawks are a dominant women's club team and a player factory, and their coaching staff is also the coaching staff of Flint City. So you know, that's what we're up against. Fortunately, I think this team has the talent to do something. Like, you've got the PASL players, which people are probably familiar with, like Kayla Addison and Hannah Crum and Amanda Britton, Gabby Shriver. Last year's Black Arrow, Avery Peters. She just finished her freshman year at Michigan. She's obviously back. We've got most of the defense back from last year, with the exception of Ella Carola, who I think is going out to like a player development camp on the West Coast or something.
Spokane, I believe, is where she went to.
Right. What we do have seemingly is probably the most talented player who has ever worn the City badge in Lily Jekyll. I'm talking about men or women, like any player ever who's like appeared in a match for City. I think Lily Jekyll is the most talented.
You heard it here first.
She's 15 years old. Like, this is the insane thing. Okay. And I feel a little bad kind of saying her name in public because she's a girl. She's not a woman yet. And we have to be very cautious about when talking about young talent because life is difficult, But Lily is a class of 2027 player. Okay. If you want to feel old. And absolutely incredible player. Athletically gifted, but her physical gifts are the least of her gifts. Like a technical player, great vision, incredible sense of the opportunity, just incredible poise and maturity, and really like sense of possibility with the ball. She is someone who, when the ball falls to her, you can feel yourself getting excited, like, oh, something's about to happen. And I mean, something does. I can't say enough about her talent. The only question really is how often she's going to be available, because she is a national level talent who gets called into like youth national team camps and things like that. So, that's a possibility. We also, Adele Francis is somebody else I want to talk about. She played for us last year. These are players that haven't been announced yet, but which are about to be. Played for us last year. You can see her in one of the recent training videos they released, scoring goal after goal. Now, last year when we got her, we knew she was an incredible physical talent, right? She was the 2 or 3 time Ohio long jump champion in high school, explosive athlete. And then you see her in person and you're like, oh yeah. I mean, it immediately is like she passes the eye test immediately. Like, this is an NWSL player, like talent wise, her, just the way she moves, her ability to change direction at incredible pace is wild. She apparently she just finished her freshman year at Michigan State and didn't play a minute. I think they must have had her doing technical drills in a room alone for the entire year, because her skill on the ball has skyrocketed since last year. She's finishing from every angle. She's playing with better fluidity. The ball doesn't seem to be fighting her anymore. Really, I think that she has a possibility of really being a breakout player for this team, because the goals are the question, right? We've always been defensively okay, and I think with Avery in the center of the kind of defensive unit, whether that's from midfield or on the back line, which is where she played for Michigan, that's going to be the case again. So if this team can score some goals, they can go play in the postseason, and we can get insanely hype about them.
Yeah, I think what I want to really see leading up to next week, and then obviously this couple months we have, is we've already seen some names from this PASL side that were playing for City before in the W leagues and even the UWS seasons join, like Kayla Addison for being one, especially when she went for 20 goals in PASL. And to give you an idea, that was 10 leagues games played.
I can tell, Addie is what they call her, Kayla Addison. Addie is she's kind of grown in stature over her time with City, and I think that absolutely in the PASL she was outstanding, and she solves a certain kind of problem that no other player in the lineup is going to solve. Like, there's not many fluid target strikers that I've seen come through, in the women's game. It just doesn't. It's a position that doesn't get developed as much.
No, and she's difficult to defend against as well.
Yeah, she's a handful. Yeah, she's technical. She's got enough strength to fight off a center back and enough pace to make them scared and make them take that first step back toward goal out of precaution. And when she and Adele played up top together a couple of times last year, like she really combined well with Adele. Adele running off of her, blowing in past defenders' pace. So I think that's the thing we're going to see. Another player that I think we're likely to see, quite a bit out of, that played PASL and has played for City in the past, although she's been in Ann Arbor the last couple of years, is Tatiana Mason.
Yeah.
She at times last year. And I think that you're probably going to see her like playing kind of a deeper lying role. Like she's sort of matured into like a central midfielder or maybe even a deep line playmaker kind of player. And I think that, her either alongside Avery or alongside what's her name, Grimaldo,
Nicole, right?
Nicole, I can't remember which. Nicole.
Naomi's in Mexico.
Naomi's in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
There's some exciting possibilities in the midfield there. So I know that Dave is very excited by what he's got on his hands. And I really would like them to get a result, against Flint that first match and kind of get on a good footing against Flint City, because it's been a good series, but it's been Flint's way.
Yeah. Another one I think I want to see, especially because she had a really, really, really good PASL season, Hannah Crum. See how she can, how she's going to make an impact on this W League team, and where is she going to be central, or is she going to be kind of an inside forward? I'm curious to see how that goes.
The thing, Hannah has that like otherworldly ability to use her left foot. She has left-footed. That is so, that allows her to solve different problems for us. And I think she's likely to be sort of a Michael Bryant-ish, like
put anywhere
lots
on
of
the
different
pitch.
things.
Yeah.
Well, like she's such a junkyard dog when she's out there, and so competitive and smart, like that you can kind of just say, you see that problem there, and she'll just go, yeah, okay, and go take care of it. And that really extends right through the PASL players. Like that's the thing that I think this team is bringing that the previous teams maybe didn't, is that sense of continuity among the older players, which is something that the City men's teams back in our part-time days always had. You had that spine of local guys who knew each other and played together all the time and played together all winter. And now the women have that. You've got right up the spine of the team. You've got, Amanda Britton, and you've got Hannah, and Tatiana. Melanie Moore. Yeah, exactly. Mel Moore is I think having a little bit of a hard time getting 100% healthy, but like when she does get healthy, I think she's a difference maker in defense. Like and like a lot of quality on the ball, off the ball. A powerful player. Like there's a lot of talent on this team, and I'm really excited to see him get out there.
So we have, in addition to our usual opponents, by that I mean in particular last year, once Indy 11 and Lou City left our division, thank God. So Flint City, as we've talked about, a new team this year, Michiana Lions, South Bend, right?
South Bend, right?
Yep. Cleveland Force SC, Kalamazoo, AFC Ann Arbor, and the team that we have not beaten yet, but yet was Cleveland's only win of the season last year in Grand Rapids, or Kentwood to be exact,
Midwest United. Where Brad Dunwell's now a coach at.
Really?
Oh my God! Really? I knew he
He's not.
retired.
I don't know if he's
Moved
a
home.
coach on the women's team. I think he's just a coach within the
Yeah, he's just
within
in the group.
the club.
So Kalamazoo, I thought obviously you said we knew Flint City ran away with the division last year. Kalamazoo,
good.
yeah, Kalamazoo was difficult. They beat us at Keyworth.
Yep.
And you know,
we drew against them at their place, and they beat us at our place.
Scored a
Yep.
goal in the first few minutes of the game, and that was it. Ann Arbor was surprisingly one-sided to us, 4-1 at Keyworth and 6-0 at Pioneer.
Yeah, we
and
really
then
took out some frustration on them.
but obviously the two black eyes, I feel like, in addition for last season, is 4-1 at Midwest United and then losing 2-0 3 days prior and basically being flat that game. So I'm going to ask this two-part question because we already know it'll be interesting to see what Flint does. Who else do you feel like in this group that might be the bogeys team potentially for Dave DeWahey and the ladies this year? And is this the year where we finally beat Midwest United at least once?
Okay. Yes, I think we beat Midwest United this year.
Thank God.
I think Kalamazoo is probably, if you're looking for like a surprise team, I think Flint is probably going to be, if we're not the best team in the division, they are going to be.
Okay.
And I think that Kalamazoo has been difficult. I think we can beat Midwest United this year. We kind of just were flat when we played them, and then that meant that we lost all chance to get, it was like we need to win these last few matches, and then we went to Midwest and just it didn't happen. We didn't play well, and everybody was like, nah. It happens in these short seasons. It doesn't take much to mean you're out. You have a bad week when you have 3 games and you lose 2 of those, and that was, now you're just finishing up the season.
Right.
So I would guess Kalamazoo, but I mean Flint is likely to be the team that set the pace if it's not us. But this division is difficult. There's a real depth of talent that churns out of these clubs every year in this band of kind of like Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, like that. There's a band of really strong club football on the women's side, and
West side of the state especially as well.
Yeah, Chicago area is like so many players. If you remember that Chicago United team that came and played us off the park 3 years ago.
Mustangs? Chicago
Yeah.
Mustangs?
Yeah, I remember
Mustangs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they were really good. Holy crap.
And it was like, that you within a minute, they're starting a bunch of 17-year-olds and they're just playing us off the park. You're like, oh, okay.
That was UWS too, wasn't it?
Memorial Day weekend, 21 UWS. Yeah.
Yep. It was an eye opener. It was like, oh, okay. We got a long way to go.
And Ann Arbor 2 years ago you were talking about Lily Jekyll. Ann Arbor had a then 15-year-old talent who's now played in the NWSL for Washington Spirit named Chloe Ricketts, who absolutely was a terror to go up against. And is she got in U.S. caps yet? I know she was been involved in youth teams, but I think if she's not, she's getting a cap soon.
No, I don't think. I mean, there's a lot of, there's a big jump between being on that 40-player list and being an actual 20 players that are, she's somebody they're looking at, but I don't think she's that close to a cap.
Right.
I think the U.S. women's national team has advanced to the point where it's kind of like a national team on a men's side. You got to be starting for a first division team, need to be in form, and then we'll talk about it,
Right.
Because they it is really, like a crash. Like maybe this will change now that Emma Hayes. Oh, we're getting off topic, but now that Emma Hayes is coming in, like she might run it a little more professionally and a little less clicky, because it's really been like that. Like you're kind of like inducted into the 23 or whatever, and you know it's like the players have a vote, and you know I think that needs to go away because it's just turns toxic inevitably.
Right. So at the end, so two key big moments in matches involving the women. The women are involved in two double headers this summer at Keyworth Stadium. The first one is June 15th, where the men will have the first game against Charleston Battery at 4 p.m. And then the women host Midwest United at 7 p.m. That's June 15th. The following weekend, the women are going to be the first game against Kalamazoo at 4 p.m. And then the men have the international friendly that's been announced against Liga MX side Pumas. So that is going to be 2 weekends in particular. If you're not doing anything, come out for that. I know also on Juneteenth itself, the club has a home match against Michiana Lions. So I'm wondering if the club's if we're gonna see anything special from the club on that day itself. Adam, did you have anything? Because I know that's going to be tying in. A lot of home games this year are going to be tying into June and what's going on with NGS's efforts with Pride Raiser and the Ruth Ellis Center.
As far as that goes, Pride Raiser is going to kick off on May 11th against Phoenix Rising. Obviously, goal totals won't count for May, but I believe once May 11th comes around, you'll be able to start, getting your pledges in, and more information will start coming out about this year's campaign. As far as the women's side though goes, just to kind of echo some of Spence's comments, what is really, really refreshing is City being able to capitalize off of their namesake. And it seems like that's something that, they weren't able to really do before. And now it seems like they're able to do that more so now, given what you've mentioned, Spence, about, these lists of players and these players interested in coming to play for us. Right. Which is cool, and I could only assume that it's going to that popularity, or maybe it's going to continue to increase, right, with Detroit City, as because Detroit City, it's a name, it's a big name here in soccer in the state of Michigan, so that's definitely cool to see. And also, it was when I saw Lily returning to City this year, that's very, very cool to see. I remember a play in particular too that she made last year. It was one of the very few games that she was able to play with City, obviously because of probably other commitments and I'm assuming age too. It may have been her only home match where she received this ball late in a match and almost put it on target. It was seriously one of the prettiest plays that I've seen I saw all season last year.
Was that the home match against Midwest?
It must have been, because the way that she received the ball and kind of, it seemed like juked out a defender almost.
Yeah, I think that was it.
And then almost had it on target. It was really, you could see the talent there. So that was really cool to see, and I'm looking forward to, watching to see what she brings to the table.
She's got
this year.
Fucking sauce, man. Like she breaks down like adult defenders like routinely. It's one of those where you, like, if you're watching training, like you see a lot of defenders going, she got me. God damn it. Like, she's thinking ahead of it. Like she, just the whole thing. Like, if you're scouting, like you're like, holy auga, like, she's got the whole thing. Like intelligent first touch, like understanding of the space, knows how to read people's body lean and break them down, and like oh my God, like, this girl can't drive yet. Like,
And if she's already that talented now, imagine where it's.
No, definitely. And two of the most impressive plays I think I saw last year when it came to City came on the women's side. It was that play that I was talking about from Lily, and then it was that set piece that Sid scored on against, I think it was against Ann Arbor.
The one at home that, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was
Avery Peters at Flint as well. Avery Peters and Adele Francis also had some big moments where you're like, again, playing beyond their years right now. So,
But yeah, one more quick question for you, Spence, because I know we're kind of up against it now. You said again a laundry list of players for the City women's side. Did Trevor have? Do you know if Trevor had any input as far as the women's side goes? Because I know he's technically sporting director, and I don't know.
I don't
know if he had
know.
any.
I kind of doubt it.
Okay.
Although, like, I'm sure that if he's around, they if he's observing at all, they try to pick his brain. But I don't think they task him with, hey, come watch this, or
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his focus is like he does big picture stuff for the women's program, but he's not like their scouting department the way he is for the men's. I think that's more kind of this is the way it's usually handled, at the sub-professional level. It's just like kind of, who do you know, networks, reaching out, coaches reaching out to Dave, and Dave reaching out to coaches.
Where are you going to be, Don? Are you going to be at the?
I'm going to be at
the
Flint.
Women's match. Or are you going to be at the men's match on the 11th?
I'm going to be at Flint. At the
okay.
men's match.
Cool.
Nice. Hell yeah.
I mean, I live up here, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's your home game.
Well, like, and it's the fuck you double header where you just cannot watch both matches. Like,
yeah.
Like, if you're at the men's match, by the time you even get to a bar, if the women's match was televised, you'd have missed the first 20 minutes.
Are the women at 7 next weekend, or are they?
Yeah, it's 5 at 7.
Okay, so at least the men's game you can get done and watch it mostly at home for you.
Right, yeah.
Or on the way to Atwood and go from there. Yeah, man, shit. This is the tough this is the tough part about all of this now, because earlier on when we were like in NISA and UWS, you could go with both relatively easy. Now I feel like it's like you're sacrificing one at the expense of the other. But you know what? It's exciting times though.
Well, yeah, I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what the women can come up with this year. I think we've got some cool moments ahead of us, and we're at an interesting inflection point with the men, where the sort of giddiness of the early season is over, and now we're into the grind, right? You got guys suspended, you got guys hurt. Like this is the football, right? Like, and it's really while there are occasionally magical seasons where like guys don't get hurt and the plan just comes together, like this is really what it's like most of the time, right? It's like, well, we got it working and then it broke. So now we're like, the thing about football is there's no standardized parts. It's like a pre-manufacturing era machine. So everything is hand built and hand fit. You got to stick it in there and run it a little bit to see how it's going and pull it back out and change it, tinker it. Maybe you need a different guy. Maybe he'll fit differently. Let's try that. You don't know. It's all conjecture until you run it a while.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at right now. Like Danny Dicchio is furiously hand tooling, bespoke parts for the new City machine and hoping that once we fire it up, it like roars.
Because in the end of the night, if anyone's seen the vibe-o-meter, the chart of the different vibes of everything, at the end of
we're
the
no
day,
longer fuck it, we ball. We're no longer there.
We want to fuck it, we ball, but we have to do a lot of shit behind the scenes to have that mindset of fuck it, we ball. So,
right.
it's, you know, a work in progress. So that's why this game goes for a long time. And I think, well, we always want to go a long time. We all have things to do, beverages and stuff to imbibe in. So we are going to wrap this up tonight. Sean Spence, as always, thank you for joining us on here, for helping make City Make Spence. In addition
to Garret and Adam, thank you.
How the ways that people can check you out, social and other content of yours.
On the platform formerly known as Twitter, I'm Shield Chafing everywhere. Shield Chafing is spelled SCYLD, SEEAFING. So that's my if you're trying to email me, that at Gmail is my email. If you're trying to hit me up on Twitter or in Blue Sky, I'm on both of those as that guy. It is a, you know, it's a guy who's mentioned at the beginning of Beowulf, and I was translating Beowulf when the internet happened. So, you know, I know I'm shield chafing everywhere.
And that's why we call him the father of heat, because, you know, Beowulf is a fucking dragon. So
also, and my blog is a Patreon blog called Words About Shapes, which is suitably vague to allow me to write about anything if I want to. But it's all, let's be honest, it's all soccer.
Hell yeah, man. Adam, what about you, brother?
Find me at TMSNX Adam on the platform, like Spence said, formerly known as Twitter. And then get us on our website, themajorsports.com, detroit.majorsports.com. So anywhere there.
Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, currently X, Instagram, Discord for me at GM Komatz. All the molding videos on regardless of sports and stuff like that. Look for other recaps and things going on there. One post-match for Detroit City tomorrow night. If you want to go annoy the Tunnel Talk lads, that's 451det@gmail.com. It's been a while since any of them got an email. It's a fun one's on there for sure. Ahead of the matches that we have this week. But yeah, like I said, it's been fun on there. Our brother from another mother, Sean Spence, Adam over there, Garret over here. Until next time.
Thank you, Spence.
Thanks for having me, guys.
See ya.